Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to the live session number 4 of the EMODnet OpenSea Lab 4.0 Hackathon. Today is all about the challenge number 4 and the EMODnet Mapviewer. We already had 3 sessions last week, live session about the challenge number 1 and 3, and also the live session about challenge 5 and editor. We also had a live session dedicated to the matchmaking and information. And all the recordings of these live sessions, in case you missed, are on Event Tornado under the Sessions tab, so you can rewatch them whenever you want. So before we start with the webinar, let me share some house rules. As always, the webinar is being recorded. Of course, we will share it on YouTube, and you will find it, as I said, under the Live Sessions tab on Event Tornado. Questions, you can ask your questions using the Q&A button. We will have a couple of presentation of interventions today from the couple of speakers that I will introduce soon. And basically, you can ask your question at the end of each one of these presentations. In case we cannot answer all of your questions today, you can always find us on the general channel. You can find the speakers on the general channel and also on the dedicated channels about each one of the challenges. So no worries if you cannot answer them. You can also reach out to us the next days. So after this brief house rules, we will basically call on stage Samuel Fooks from Belize. He will talk about the challenge number 4, EMODnet for the coast. And then after about 15-20 minutes, we will welcome on stage Tim Collart from EMODnet. He will basically have a short demo of the EMODnet Mapviewer. And then in the end, we will provide you with the next steps, which are basically the last live session that we will have on Thursday. So let's watch all together, the video for the challenge number 4, EMODnet for the coast.
Hello, my name is Samuel Fooks, and I'm a developer and data engineer at the Flanders Marine Institute. And I'm here to introduce challenge number 4 from the OpenSea Lab Hackathon, EMODnet for the coast. For this challenge, you'll be leveraging EMODnet in situ data, other open data sources, and the European Digital Twin Ocean to help create innovative solutions for a more resilient coastal future for European communities. The coastal zone is where the land meets the sea, and coastal communities are already facing very pressing issues, such as rising sea levels, loss in biodiversity, changes in economic activities, and trying to optimize marine spatial planning. Using EMODnet data and other open data sources, we can develop tools and applications to help predict risks and make better decisions. Think of things like ecosystem monitoring, storm surge mitigation, protecting and enhancing biodiversity, blue carbon initiatives, or optimizing marine spatial planning. These are just a few of the ways that you can help develop a winning solution for this challenge. This is your opportunity to turn data into action, whether you want to focus on things like ecosystem monitoring, pollution control, climate adaptation, marine spatial planning optimization. You can have a chance to create a real impact on how we manage and protect Europe's coastal zones. So dive in, explore the data, be creative, and good luck.
All right. So welcome on stage, Samuel. The floor is yours. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, thanks. So you can hear me okay, I'm guessing? Yeah?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So I will get to sharing here my presentation. Hi everyone. So yeah, as you heard in the video, or perhaps you know already, my name's Samuel Fooks, and I'll be introducing Challenge number 4 today. So EMODnet for the coast. So I'll just give a, so my name is Sam. I'm developer and data engineer at the Flanders Marine Institute. Just a short about me, so you know a little bit, just a short. I predominantly am working on the Edito project, predominantly on the EMODnet data side of the Edito project. I'm a data and, in where it's useful, an AI enthusiast. I also am a hackathon participant. I like participating in hackathons, and I'm happy to serve as a mentor for a hackathon. I like music, most kinds, and going to live shows, pretty into sports, and I think I tend to focus a lot on interaction between people and the environment. I think that the relationship is really important. And it's kind of why I got into data science. So, as some of you who are in the session probably have already read, so the description for this challenge, so how we could use the EMODnet in situ data and data products to develop applications or other tools that will measure the status and health of the coast more holistically. Focusing on the EMODnet in situ data, trying to understand water, ecosystem health, support climate change adaptation, and other mitigation strategies. So thinking of things like protecting against storm surges, increasing monitoring blue carbon reserves, dealing with sea level rises and stuff like that. So when touring around for more what I suppose are the contemporary issues, I think some good ones that I found that can give you some good jumping off points. So I put all the links for the stuff that I found in my presentation, so you can go through the documentation, but just a little bit of the summaries from all these things. So this is the European Environment Agency's perspective on the most pressing issues for the coast. This is, of course, their assessment. This isn't totally all-encompassing, but I think it's pretty good. So climate change impacts like warmer surface waters, changes in pH, coastal erosion, rising sea levels, pressures from overfishing, pollution, and eutrophication, because, of course, on the coast is where we have inland waters coming in and meeting the sea. So when you're having that interaction, that's something that you have to include in your coastal management plans. You have denser development along the coast for tourism, and just many people like to live at the seaside. Most of the world's population does. Energy transmission lines and the spread of invasives through shipping, as ports being on the coast, then of course that's where you're going to be targeting it and where you're going to see invasives coming first. So they put in, I guess, across the board, there's been a number of different goals. There's been a number of different policies, and they give a little summary of the progress there. So by 2030, the EU wants to protect 30% of its marine area, with 10% strictly protected. So restricting human activities and transport activities mostly. And they have some preliminary results that they're saying, okay, in some places we see a decrease in nutrient and chlorophyll A levels, which means, okay, having a positive effect against eutrophication. In some places, the fishing pressure has been reduced, so you see some recoveries of fish and shellfish stocks. But they're saying, in 2019, it wasn't everywhere, but it was just a general trend was it was getting a bit better, at least in the Northeast Atlantic and the Baltic. But another interesting one that was in January, this little shout out to they're in the same building at FLIS, the European Marine Board. They had an interesting publication here. I put the link in here. It's a coastal resilient Europe. And they talk about some of the same pressures that you see what the European Environment Agency had mentioned, but they go a bit more into detail about some optional solutions and things that they kind of notice about I guess we could say, the trends in policy and the trends in research. So yeah, they outlined that there are other pressures that are happening, multiple pressures. So ecosystem degradation and low resilience, that's a term that they use in form of coastal resilience. You see that in the description as well. Means of coastal environments, and also the way that humans are interacting with those environments to be resilient against changes. And those changes that are coming right now are predominantly as a result of climate change. They also mention that there's some competing pressure from policies. So while like the European Environment Agency says we want to protect 30% of marine areas, but then you have things like the Green Deal, other policies that are coming in place to increase offshore wind power generation. So yeah, in their paper, they talk about that and a couple others where they're just like, look, we have these conflicts where we have to keep that in mind as we're moving forward with policies. They should be holistic. They should keep each other in mind. And then they talk about a need for, improved governance. Of course, this more holistic systems-based approach, and also where local communities will play more of a role in what they call, I guess, capacity building is a way to increase resilience. So your coastal resilience. They focused on, which I found interesting, of course, by people, environment interaction, nature-based solutions. There's also an interesting one on Edito, if anyone's had a chance to look at it. But yeah, so they talk about, and there's a lot of reason for that. When you're using a more nature-based solution to try and restore the coastal ecosystem. So yeah, there's can tackle a lot of things at once. Yeah, and then I guess resilience communities. Yeah, so yes, the early warning systems. Yeah, that's part of it as well in for increasing that resilience in your coastal community, and that's something that we'll get on to a bit later. Some of the interesting projects that I think that are focusing on these problems. Research and innovation into blue economy activities, and then trying to develop a more standardized way of talking about coastal resilience. So these are some of the projects that I found that I think that they're working on kind of the most interesting solutions at this point. The Focus one is actually from Copernicus, is a collaborative project. It's also using data from Copernicus Marine. I think that one's a really interesting one. We have here the SCORE project. So this one is one that's focusing on storm surges. So they're trying to increase coastal resilience by their ability to cope with storm surges. And again, you see here, smart technologies, nature-based solutions. Rest Coast was also another interesting one. They're focusing more on coastal restoration. And then this is also one that I had found out about at a conference of meeting someone that was working on a part of this at Deltaris, and I posted some links to their repo as well. The Coquelicot project. I think that's I think these are some good places that you can start where you can see, okay, these are larger projects or organizations that are trying to tackle these different kinds of problems. While you still have 2 days, it might give you a good jumping off point of where of sort of the more pressing issues at this time. So I'll just get back to my presentation here. So as Tim's going to show you in a bit, we have the EMODnet GeoViewer. I would say that for data around the coast, you have pretty much everything in every thematic lot in EMODnet. Yeah, what you want to tackle, what problems you're thinking of going after, is going to dictate what data you're using. So I just put some simple things here. You don't have to do anything, but let's say you want to optimize algae production based on rising sea levels. So you'll go to the algae production from human activities, and you'll look at the absolute sea level trend from EMODnet physics. Maybe you'll make a simple model, or you'll look at changes in pH using the eutrophication layers from EMODnet chemistry and the effects on fish catch. I think my general point is that you'll find pretty much data in every thematic lot. It'll just depend on what problem you want to tackle. Some other open data sources here, of course, Copernicus Marine, that's been mentioned in other sessions, I'm sure. The only thing that I said that I want to write here is that it's one of the strict part of this that at least 2 sources from EMODnet, and then we're definitely giving preference. There's preference for using European stuff. You at least have to use stuff from Europe. So if you're using data from outside Europe, just keep in mind, stay inside Europe as well. Stack index, so it's a good way to also learn a bit about Stack. For those of you that have attended the Edito sessions, you probably heard about Stack, the Stack catalog on Edito. So starting there, there's heaps of open data for sources, a lot of terrestrial stuff, but some marine sources as well. And then the Coquelicot project, they have their own stack as well. And it's a coastal stack. It's mostly focusing on coastal data, so that could be a good one. This slide's a bit busy, but I would say these are some of my I think these are like some of the tools that you see on Edito, but these are some really interesting coastal tools and other. So the Deco impact, that's from Deltares, a different project than the Coquelicot one, but they managed to make a really cool coastal habitat suitability modeling application. There's the nature-based solutions application on Edito, and then there's another one for predicting catch prediction optimization. There's lots of different stuff on Edito that you can use to get started on in the training and tutorials. So I guess this slide was just about saying, what can you do in 2 days? Or will you make a fully comprehensive pan-European coastal management plan, sophisticated 4D meshing modeling application? Probably not. I encourage you to try, but I would say focus on what the key pressures are on coasts, what are the policies and strategies currently being worked on. Make a deployable and actionable solution based on data, and use EMODnet data, of course. Do not forget that part of it. And then what I tend to call, when I did hackathons in the past, what's your MVP, not your most valuable, your minimum viable product? What can you make? What's your pipeline into delivery? And then after you have that, expand on it, make it better, but get to your MVP ASAP. These are a couple references to ensure that I'm not plagiarizing anyone. And I would say, first year last, but no, go out there, go for it, but also have fun exploring, have fun using these different tools, see what problems are being worked on, and see what you can come up with.
All right. Thank you so much, Samuel.
Attention.
Yes, thank you so much. So it's time for the questions. If we have questions.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I'll look in the
while
chat.
I'm here, maybe I will start with one question. Do you think we can basically maybe share all of those links also here in the description of the challenge number 4 on Event Tornado, because as you say, we will make the presentation available, but maybe also we can, if I click here on the challenge number 4, down here after this paragraph, maybe we can add all of those links. So if it's okay, I will do it. So
yeah. I would recommend it, to be honest. I try to not be overwhelming. There's quite some links there, so I would say don't you know, don't go too far into the rabbit hole. But yeah, you get a good starting point there. And at the very least, I gave you some links and some good GitHub repos. So
all right.
I mean, start with codes. That's what I would say.
All right. We have a couple of comments in the chat. Basically, the first one from Bijoy Kumar. Maybe you were talking about it. I don't know. I cannot understand the question. It's including river connectivity and obstruct fish migration. I don't know if Bijoy, you need to elaborate on that, or Sam, you can extract what their question.
River connectivity. I think, yeah, well, at least how I interpret the question, I suppose, looking at river connectivity and looking at fish migration in Europe, that's the thing. I am definitely more of a marine guy, I would say, being with EMODnet. But the thing is, as long as you're focusing in Europe, if you're using inland freshwater data, that, you know, that counts. That's a part of a winning solution, and that is at the coastal interface. Is it? Yeah, I suppose I would say, Bijoy. If given this is challenge number 4, it's for the coast. It will probably have to focus on that. I would say that you can't go too far inland. But
okay.
Yeah, could be a good one. And are desalination and power grid management a good focus point? I would say, yeah, I would say so. Looking at desalination, I'm not extremely familiar with recent technology developments in that. I know it's becoming, if I'm not mistaken, there are other countries that are actually progressing quite a bit further than Europe with that. And then, yeah, if that ends up being a solution for, as we look at decreasing freshwater stocks, and desalination plants become more of a predominant thing, and the power that's needed for it, maybe looking that in a sort of a co-partnership, passive desalination. Yeah, see that. Okay. Yeah, see. Yes, sorry. And India. Yes, I know the problem more in a context of indeed in Southeast Asia, but that's what I've heard actually, where indeed most of the developments are. I think the technology is a lot better, or is at least my impression. Because in Europe, at least to this point, while we still have some concerns with freshwater supply, I don't think it's at the same scale. But bringing it to Europe, looking at the feasibility of it in Europe, that could be a good place to start, huh?
All right. Yeah, we gotta thank you. So, yes, Bijoy, if you can maybe elaborate more on your question in the chat. Yeah, here.
More worldwide.
River connectivity challenges more worldwide, yes.
Yeah. That is the thing. There's part of this that you can use data from other places, but it's an EMODnet hackathon, so it's gotta be in and around Europe. Europe is part of the world though, so
yes. Indeed. All right. Do we have any more questions? I don't see it in the chat. I don't see it in the Q&As. Otherwise, you can think about it, and then maybe at the end of this session here, we can answer more. So
I'm definitely not unreachable. It's not at all times, but I'm on Discord. If you have specific questions, I can get to them at some point. But just click on the
Fantastic.
links. Click on the links. You'll get ideas.
All right. Thank you so much, Samuel. Thank you so much for your
Thanks,
presentation.
guys.
Thank you.
And see you around.
See you around. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Hi, good afternoon.
So here we have Tim with us, Marine Data Analyst and GIS Support Officer at EMODnet. So he will talk about the EMODnet Mapviewer. Welcome, Tim. I'm going to stop sharing, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michele. If you just can confirm that you can see my browser window.
Yes, we can. Let me change to standard view for the audience. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Let me just see if I can remove this. Okay. So I want to give you a little overview of the EMODnet Mapviewer. So as you probably know, participating in the OpenSea Lab, is that EMODnet offers access to data as well as curated data products from in situ marine data. And the way we offer the data to our users is basically in two ways. We have a products catalog, which is this one. It's basically a big library of data sets from in situ marine data in Europe. But we also offer a more visual way to actually explore what EMODnet has to offer, and this is our map viewer. You can find it here, or just go to EMODnet. Just gonna click it, map viewer. Is there a way I can remove this top bar from Teams?
Because you have a top bar from Zoom,
it's
right?
Fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I found it. I found
All
it.
right.
Just gonna move this to the side. Okay, so this is what you'll get. So this is our map viewer application. It looks a little bit like Google Maps, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And I'm gonna kind of lead you through the functionality and see how you can use it to find data, to visualize it, to filter it to what you need, and then finally to download the information you want. So on the top left here, this is kind of the main window you will be using. So that's the layer window. You will see here you have a number of layers. Currently, we don't have any. And you have a number of additional options here. So marine regions, that's kind of a way if you're working in a specific area of interest and you want to see the exact outline of that area, you can enter it here. I'm going to give you an example of the North Sea. Let's see the North Sea as defined by the IHO. This should load the kind of outline of the North Sea. That's just a useful feature in case you're restricting your application to a specific area. You can get the official outline of that area. We also have multiple base maps. At the moment, you're seeing kind of the EMODnet bathymetry base map, but you can also switch to OpenStreetMap, a number of Esri base maps, or some more more simplistic ones in case you want to kind of use the map viewer to create a nice image of the data. So how do I find EMODnet data? So that happens through the catalog. You can see here it's grouped by each of the thematics. So bathymetry, biology, chemistry, geology, human activities, physics, seabed habitats, EMODnet ingestions. Those are data sets that were contributed to EMODnet. And you can either browse it by just expanding this menu, or you can type. I'll load a few example layers. For example, I'm interested in depth or bathymetry. And then I can see all the layers that are related to depth. I'll just load one here. You can see for each layer, you have this kind of information icon. If you click that, you get a quick abstract kind of describing what this data set is. But if you want more information on it, you can also click this metadata link that will get you to the linked record in our metadata catalog, and that has some additional information. So you can see the abstract here. But for example, you can also see a contact in case you have questions about the specific data set, a quality statement, also, for example, the license information or any other use constraints. So through that metadata link, you will find even more information on that particular data set. There you also have a download button. This is the first way you can download any EMODnet dataset. So if you click that, it will either download the file directly of the entire dataset. In some cases, for example, this bathymetry file, it's really large. You can see here it's about 136 gigabytes. And that's why it leads you to an intermediate page, in this case of EMODnet ERDEP. So for those larger data sets, you can download the entire data file. However, we also offer a second option where you subset the data first. I'm going to show you that in a second. First, I'm going to add a few additional layers. Let's do something around biodiversity, because that's related to my challenge too. So this is biodiversity records. Again, it gives you a description of what you're actually seeing. So this is the number of biodiversity observations recorded in the dataset for any species at the moment. I'll add a third one. Let's see something around litter. So you can see, oh, there's litter on the beaches, on the seafloor. There's micro litter. So that's, for example, microplastics. I'm going to just pick one here. Let's say spatial distribution of fishing related items. So you can see a number of dots here have appeared. So let's say I've now added all the information to the map that I'm interested in. Then you can switch to the layers tab. There you have a number of options. So you have just options that change kind of the visibility. So these ones, for example, they're the opacity. So if you say, oh, this biodiversity layer, it's kind of cluttering the map, you can turn it down. You can also just hide it and you can remove it. You can also reorder by dragging and dropping. Let's say in this case, I would want this kind of information on litter to be at the top. So I move it to the top. You can also, once you have data layers on the map, you can also click on the map to interact with it. I'm going to click here, and that's going to actually pull the information from that specific location. You can see here one of three. That it's because I have three layers loaded. So the first layer is the depth. It says me, oh, at this location you clicked, it's 50 meters deep. The second one is actually the litter information. So the distribution of fishing related litter items. And there you can see, oh, for the different grid cells, different timestamps, how much weight was actually of this kind of fishing related litter was actually collected. And then the third one, you see that in this little cell, there is 787 records of biodiversity, of occurrences of different species recorded. So that's the main way you interact with the data layers on the map. You will also see there's some additional icons here. So I'll go to this one first. This icon allows you to kind of filter the layer. As I said, this layer I added with the biodiversity record that has all the recorded species occurrences. However, we may not be interested in everything. And filters, there will be several. If you can look in the catalog which layers have filters. For example, here, oh, this is not a good example. I'm just gonna go to the full one. You see many layers allow you to filter, always with that icon. For example, this species layer, I can filter by the taxon. So let's say I'm interested in orcas. I can find the scientific name for orcas, I can apply, and now that layer is filtered to only species occurrence records about orcas. So that's the filter functionality. Other layers will have this kind of play button icon, and that means this layer is actually a time series. So there is information for different time steps. This is the litter layer you see here. And when I click the little animation button, I can see the different time steps that are available. Basically, this is yearly data starting in 2011. I can move the time step that it's showing. So let's say you see as we go through time, more and more kind of litter information is being collected in more places. What I can also do is I can play an animation. So that will kind of loop through the different time steps to kind of see if there's changes occurring. So that's the time animation. So let's just put it to 2019. Now, what are all these colors that we're seeing? With every map viewer and every data set, of course, you also have a legend. So that's the second button here. And that shows you what all the colors on the map actually mean. So this is for the litter layer. You see by color, it's the kind of the percentile of how much weight of fishing related litter items. Then for the biodiversity records, it's basically per cell, how many records are in the database. And you can see here for orcas, remember we filtered this to orcas. You can see most of them are occurring in higher latitudes with around the coast. Generally, they have been observed more. And then this is just the depth scale for the bathymetry layer we have. Oh yeah, there's one other additional feature is for bathymetry layers, we have a specific functionality. To activate this, you need to just make that layer the active layer. You can do this by pressing this button, and then you will see this new elevation profile button appear. And that allows you basically to get the depth elevation along a profile line. Let's have a look at the Nazaré Canyon, which is a big canyon in front of Portugal. I can draw kind of a line and I can inspect how depth is changing. So that's a specific feature for any of the bathymetry layers that we offer. Okay, so we have our layers, we have visualized them, we have filtered them either in the case of the biodiversity records to the species we want. We have selected the time step we want for our litter data. Now let's download it. As before, as we've seen, each of these layers, if you go to them in the catalog, you can also just download the full thing, but we don't necessarily want that. It may be a lot of data, or it will make us do more work afterwards to actually filter the data to what we need. For that, we have kind of developed this download and subset tool. This is the third button in the row here, and that opens the right-hand window. It says, click here to select an area. Let's say I'm working in the North Sea. So I'm going to draw a little box here. And this brings up kind of a product selection table. And it says, oh, for each of these layers, you can download some data in the area you selected. So spatial distribution of fishing, this is a vector layer. So it's offered as a shapefile. This allows you to kind of select formats. So I click it, and that should, that will start the download. To just download those litter data in the time step I selected and in the region I selected. For the biodiversity records, it's the same. I can download it as a CSV file. It will download only the records for orca. Remember, I did this filtering, and only in the area I've selected. And then for the bathymetry, I have several format options. I will go with NetCDF. And this will download actually the bathymetric raster in the area that I selected. This saves me from having to download this 136 gigabyte file and then having to cut it to the area I want myself. I think I selected quite a big region, so this will take a while, but eventually it will give me the NetCDF file for that area. So those actually are the second way to download EMODnet products. I can go through some of the other features in the viewer. Here we have a settings window. This is kind of, you can see here on the bottom right here, you can see, or bottom left, sorry, you can see the coordinates. I can change how those are formatted to degrees, minutes, seconds, decimals. I can also change the projection. Currently, we're kind of looking at the Web Mercator one. but I can select different ones. For example, a Arctic polar view, and this will reproject the map to use an Arctic projection. This is example nice if you're working with data sets around high latitudes. There's an Antarctic one, and there's several other European ones that are available. So those are the main features of the map viewer. There's a number of buttons on the left here. Those are mainly for navigation. So we have a zoom in. I'm just going to quickly go back to the other projection. It's maybe faster, because otherwise it has to reproject. This button just goes to the standard home projection. This one goes to the layer extent. Okay, I think my netcdf file finally downloaded. If I have a look. Okay, there we go. So I've downloaded this file. Let's go back to Mercator. So this one just goes back to the default European extent. This one zooms to the extent of the layers I've selected. The biodiversity one is Europe, but also beyond. Full screen mode can zoom to your location. If you allow a location access, it will zoom you to your current location. We also have a 3D map viewer. Just click on hide the layers. I'm in Ostend, so you can see I was just zoomed into that. We also have a 3D viewer. This is kind of nice to show some visuals. I'm not going to show Ostend because it's very flat here, but I will try and go again to the Nazare Canyon, where you can actually make some 3D visuals of the canyon. So we have that option. And then also what's important, or what may be relevant to you, is we have a kind of a print function. So if you make a map, you can actually export an image this way, you give it a title, and you can print it to PDF or PNG. And then finally, a very useful feature is the share button. This will generate a link, and this link will have the map viewer exactly as you have specified it. That means it will have the same zoom extent, it will have the same base map, it will have the same data layers, as well as those layers with the filters you have applied. So if you want to share what you've been doing on the EMODnet Mapviewer with a friend, you can use this link and send it to them, and they will see exactly what you see, and this way you can collaborate. So I think this was an entire walkthrough of the EMODnet viewer and how you can explore any of the data products we have in there. You can subset them, you can download them. So yeah, please, in case you have any questions, I think now we have some time for that.
Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much. Let me share the screen. Any question? We have some questions in the chat. So the Nazare Canyon team is the one with the big wave where people are surfing, right? Is that correct? Yes,
that's right. That's correct. Yeah.
All right. So if someone from the audience ever surfed those waves, please let us know in the chat. That would be great. Okay. So the first one. Let me go to the chat. A second. So, well, the first one is that there are lots of options in the EMODnet Mapviewer, which is great. And we have another question, which is way more, let's say, which is way longer. Basically, they're asking, if I understand correctly, India. If not, please correct me in the chat. So, if I understand correctly, using the map viewer is the main deliverable a web app or a natively deployable application? So if I understand again correctly, and this should be, yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure if this is going to answer your question, so please come in if it's not. So the map viewer is kind of the application that EMODnet has developed, so that it's easy for you to kind of explore what data sets we have available and download them. However, if you want to build an application yourself as part of the hackathon, all of the APIs that make this application possible are also available. They are open and they are standard. And I can actually... and we have some documentation on that. So this in the GitHub, you have a web service documentation. I think it's also in the documentation you have on the map viewer. And this kind of explains the standard of APIs that we use to power this map viewer, as well as all the different APIs where you can find the different data products and how to interact with them. There's also some tutorials in Python or R to connect with them. So I don't know if that answered your question completely, but in case you want to build an application and you want to use the data in the background through an API, all the APIs that power our map viewer are also available to you.
Okay, so India has replied. So my main question was about the deliverable type. So is the solution for the hackathon compulsory an application? So I can maybe answer to this. Thank you, India, for clarifying this. So no, the compulsory deliverables for the hackathon are the deliverable 1, 2, and 5, which are the project summary, the presentation, and the video. In case you would like to develop a web app or a natively deployable application or something else, maybe it can be a Figma board or whatever it is, you can do that and you can submit that in deliverable number 3, which is the optional deliverable, in which we have a template where you can paste the link of your application, describe maybe how to run it, and then in there we know how to check it. But it's not compulsory, it's not mandatory. The mandatory deliverables are the 1, 2, and 5. So this would be the reply. I hope this answers your question, India. And in case it doesn't, you can again reach out to me or to Tim on Discord. So let me check. Yes, all right, it answered the question, perfect. Any other question about the EMODnet Mapviewer, or is it everything is clear? Let me check if we have something on the Q&As. Not in the Q&As. So yes.
Yes, it was clear.
Yes. All right. Okay, so if we don't have any more questions, again, you can reach out to us on Discord whenever you want. Let me maybe share my screen again, and we can go to the next steps. Thank you so much, Tim, for your presentation. It was great. Thank you. And Sam also.
Welcome.
All right. So next live session. Next live session is on Thursday. It's going to be about the challenge number 2 and the blue economy. Again, we will start at 3 p.m. as we did today. So yeah, with this, after this live session number 5 on Friday, we will provide more detailed information about the hackathon agenda. We're going to have a kickoff on the first hackathon day. And then basically in there, we will provide you with all you need to gear up for the hackathon. So with this, thank you very much, guys. See you all on Event Tornado. And yeah, have a great hackathon next week. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Good luck, everyone.
Bye. Good luck.